What's up guys? Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a wonderful new year and is super excited about 2017. I'm definitely excited about what's in store. There's some exciting things coming up and I am super pumped about it. But today I wanted to talk to you about my favorite makeup brushes. So as I was sitting down to get ready today, I kept out all of the brushes that I always go to when I'm doing my makeup. So there's some high-end, there's some drugstore, and yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk to you guys about my favorite brushes. So you'll quickly be able to see that I have a lot more eye brushes that I favor over face brushes. I have only about 6 face brushes that I use versus probably, not the lip liner that I have in there, but that is my favorite lip liner, probably around like 10 eye brushes. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the face since I have quite a few less face brushes. So we'll go, most of these are actually drugstore except for 2. My cat. Theo, stop. Listen, buddy, I'm gonna need you to chill out, okay? Chill out, just chill. Thank you. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the Real Techniques face brushes because I love these brushes. I think they're so versatile and I think they are great quality for a really, really good price. And you can always get them like buy one, get one half off at like Ulta or something like that. And of course, I really like Sam and Nick. I've been watching them a long time, and they're great girls. So anyway, the first I'm gonna start with that I use all the time is this big brush right here. I'll put names in the description if I can find them. I'm sure this is just called like a face brush or an all over powder brush or something like that. But this is so good for blending. As you guys know from my previous videos, when I put a layer on, so if I'm putting blush on, I blend it out before going on to the next step. If I put on bronzer, I blend it out before putting on the next step. I use this for powder all over my face. I use this to dust off any kind of like setting powder under my eyes. I really, really like this brush. All around great brush. It never has shed on me. I don't even know if these brushes would shed. I'm pretty sure they're synthetic. I'll find that out and put it below as well. And they're really soft, they're really fluffy, they last well, they clean well, really, really good brush. Everybody needs an all over powder brush. Definitely, I think this is probably about like 10 bucks, maybe 10 to 15 bucks or something like that. So definitely look into that one. Next I'm going to go into is this guy, another Real Techniques brush right here. This one I love because it is perfect for bronzer or blush. I don't use it for blush, but this would be so good. It's so big and fluffy. My cat is knocking down brushes. And I like, yes, I have big cheeks. I've always had big cheeks, but I've used this on friends and clients who have smaller cheeks and it just works. Like you can pinch it to get right where you need it to get, or you can just go all over and it kind of blends out and does the work for you. So this is what I use for my bronzer. I've been using it for like 2 years probably now. I don't know if they've been out for a year, definitely at least a year. And I am obsessed with it. So definitely look into this one if you're looking for an all over bronzer or blush brush. Sorry about that. My cat decided to change the angle of the camera, so I had to fix that really quick. But the next Real Techniques brush I want to talk about is this guy right here, just a flat brush. I did a video on this about how I can do a full look of makeup with just this brush. This is such a great brush. You can use it for foundation all over your face. You can use it for powder. I use this for bronzer, for cream contour. You can use it to kind of contour around your nose. Blush, again, this of all of these brushes, it would probably be tied between these two, but this is the one brush I would say of all of these that you can get a full face of makeup with and have nothing else. So this is definitely a good one to keep in your kit and definitely a good one to keep in your purse. Like I talked about in a previous video, if you have like a to-go makeup case, if you know you're gonna be in a rush, this is a great one to have in that case because can just do everything you need with one brush. So that's a great one. The next one I'm gonna go into is this Real Techniques brush, which looks just like this. And I love this because it's really good for getting a really nice sharp contour and also blending out at the same time since it's tapered like this. It's also really good for blush. It's good to dust off any kind of powder that's under your eyes. Again, you can just get a nice little contour around your nose, contour up here. Again, a really, really good brush that's versatile and great to keep in your makeup arsenal. So that's it for the Real Techniques brushes. So now I'm gonna go on to a couple other ones that I have. You guys have seen me use this one. dropping things as usual. You guys have seen me use this one in a lot of my videos. It's kind of the like dupe for the oval Artiste brushes, but this one is from Amazon and is like $7 or $8. I love this brush. It makes applying your foundation super easy. It takes no time. It's really quick. It does soak up a little bit of product, I will say that, but I don't mind that sometimes when I have like a full coverage foundation. I do not mind this soaking up a little bit of the product. It doesn't soak up too much, like where it makes no sense to have the brush because it's soaking up too much product. It soaks up the right amount, if that makes sense. And this is just a really nice brush, really affordable. You can buy it on Amazon and it's a lot cheaper than the more high-end ones out there. So you might want to look into this if you're looking to try one of those. You might want to try this as like the pre-investment, see how you like it, and then move on to the big, wonderful luxury Artiste brushes. Next brush I have for the face is this MAC 168 brush. As you can see, it has been very well loved. I used it today, and this is all I use for my blush. I think this fits perfectly on anybody's face for blush. I think it's marketed as a contour brush, and I'm sure it would be just fine for contour. I just think it fits nicely where I need it. It kind of blends for you, and because it tapers out on the end like that, I just like that it applies kind of less product as you move out. And that's how I like to apply my blush, from the cheek all the way back. So this is my all-time favorite blush brush. So let's move on to the highlighting brush, which is the Morphe M510. Looks like this. And this is just so good for packing on highlight. I used to use a fan brush that I never really was a fan of. It's just what I had. Fan, get it? This is just great for applying highlight anywhere you need to. It packs it on really well, and I would never go back to a fan brush after having this. And finally, the last brush is the MAC 165, which looks like this. Very similar to the Real Techniques brush I was just talking about, just a little bit more fluffy, and this has the natural hair. And I love this brush for a couple things. The way I use this brush most is to dust off under the eye. When I apply like a white powder or I'm just baking, I really like this for that. I think it gets under there very nicely. It's also nice to kind of pull your eye down when you're applying some eyeliner to the waterline, and it's also really good to get that contour once again, and I have used this for blush as well. And I do find myself grabbing for this guy over the Real Techniques one most of the time. It might be because I've had this one longer, because they really do act the same. I guess I just tend to go for this one because it's kind of force of habit. So these two I would say are pretty interchangeable though. And that is honestly it for my face tools. I obviously have my beauty blender here because this is considered a tool for me. It's obviously not a brush, and I clearly need a new one, but I've really grown to like this for applying foundation. I know when I did a video in the past, I said that I do not like beauty blenders for foundation, and I've just over the past few months kind of fallen in love with it for applying foundation. And this is the only thing I use to blend out my contour under the eye and set under the eye. So always a staple in my collection. So let's go ahead and move on to eye brushes now. Like I said before, I have more of an obsession with eye brushes, and I think that might play in part because I have hooded eyes. I don't feel like you can only have one blending brush when you have hooded eyes, or one little like definer brush. I think you need to have a little bit bigger of a collection when it comes to eye brushes when you have a little bit of hooded eyes. That's just my honest opinion. And over the last few months, I've bought some Morphe brushes, and it has changed the game for my eye brushes. I can't tell you how much easier it is to blend with these brushes. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'll start with eyebrows. My favorite brush to apply my brow product is the MAC 208. It looks like this. It's very sharp. You can get it very sharp, and it's just the perfect size to be able to define your brows nicely. Fits really well. It's really easy to work with. And I also picked up this Morphe M413 brush, which is like the dual-ended and also has kind of a angle tip, and you could just see the difference in the precision here. For these two, I definitely prefer the MAC brush. There's some glitter on it from my New Year's holiday look, sorry about that, but I definitely prefer the MAC one over this one. It just has a way, let me see if you guys can see how much thinner it is, and how much of a difference that makes when it comes to applying your brow product is insane. So I definitely prefer the MAC 208 brush, but I do like this spoolie on the Morphe brush. So this is what I use to kind of comb up my brows, and this MAC brush is what I use to define it. And this could also work, I think it is marketed as a liner brush, which is really good. I like to use it under the eyes sometimes, but it's definitely my favorite brow brush. And on that note, we'll talk about some other liner brushes that I have. This one from MAC is the MAC 212. It's just a flat liner brush like this. And this is my absolute favorite liner brush. You get some product on it, and then you can just push into your lash line, and it makes your lash line look so defined and a lot softer than it would using something like an angled brush like this to apply a liner. And I think when you have hooded eyes, this really, really comes in handy to be able to give that definition to your lash line that you need without looking too harsh or closing your eyes off. So this will, and always forever will be, my favorite liner brush from MAC. And I also have another liner brush that I picked up from Morphe. This is the Morphe G28, which looks like this. It's part of their gunmetal collection. And I got this not for liner because it's a little bit more of a forgiving brush, if you could see that. It kind of just, it's a little bit more of a flexible brush. That's what I'll say. A flexible brush than the MAC 212. You can see the difference in, like, hopefully you can see the difference in give here. That's just, Morphe one just has a lot more give, and I really like this to get right under the lash line and apply product. It's nice and soft, it's precise, and I love it for that. I would prefer this one for under the eyes and the MAC brush for above the eyes. So I also have this MAC, I think it's a MAC 204. I'll figure it out and put it below, but it's another liner brush that looks like this, and this is a great all-around brush. You could use it for lip liner, you could use it to line up here, but what I like to use it for, since I have small little hooded eyes, is I like to use this to define my outer V when I'm doing a little more of a dramatic, intense eye look. It just works way better for me to get that precision than anything else. Works better than a blending brush, works better than a pencil brush. I just really like it to be able to define my outer V. You can even use it if you wanted to, like, define your crease a little bit, do something like a cut crease. Really good brush, great to have in your collection. And that's pretty much it for the, like, liner-esque brushes. Let's go ahead and move on to our blending brushes. I have 4 blending brushes that are, nope, I have 5 blending brushes that are my absolute favorite, and this is where the game has really changed for me, adding these Morphe brushes into my collection. So we'll go ahead and start with the tried and true, the MAC 217. This has a little bit of blue stain on it from this look that I did, but this is definitely one of my go-to and has been a go-to for years and years and years for me. It's a little bit more fluffy than the, let's see, what's this guy? The MAC 222. You can see the difference, and I really don't grab for the 222 ever. I just grab for the 224 because it does have a little bit more of a tapered edge. It's not so precise as the 222, and I find that it just works better to blend out product when you're working in your crease. I think I just may have added a little blue. That's okay, we'll roll with it. But yeah, this is definitely a favorite blending brush. I know everybody knows all about that brush. But with that said, I have recently picked up the Morphe M433, which looks like this. And here is the comparison to the MAC one. You can see it's just slightly more fluffy and a little more tapered. I hope you can see that. And I think that this Morphe M433 blends out a little bit better than the MAC 217. I think I was just calling it a 224. It's a 217. These brushes get confusing, but yeah, I think that this brush has become my favorite to just blend out product a little bit more. It makes the job easier. It's nice to pack on at the same time, just like the 217, but this one just seems to blend out a little bit better. It could be because my 217 is quite a few years old and this one is only a few months old that it just blends better, but I do think the fluffiness of the Morphe M43 is just a little bit better for what I'm looking for with my eye shape. On that note, I have a couple more Morphe brushes here. I have the Morphe M502 and the Morphe M505. This is the 502 right here. And this is the 505 right here. They look very similar, and it's very hard to choose which one I like better, but I will say I am more of a fan of the Morphe 505, which looks like this. It's a little bit shorter and it comes to a little bit more of a taper. I hope you can see that. And it just makes blending slightly easier. I definitely grab for both of these, but if I am trying to get a little bit more of a blended look, I will go ahead and grab the Morphe M505. And I just, as you can see, I want to do the littlest amount of work as possible when it comes to blending. I want my brushes to do the work rather than my hand like going in circles and moving back and forth and back and forth. And this Morphe M505 just seems to work slightly better on my eyes than the Morphe M502. So I had to include them both because I love them both, but if I had to come down to it, I would go with the Morphe M505. But they're both really good and definitely part of my favorites. I reach for them every day. And finally, I have the Morphe M507, which looks like this. It's just a smaller version of the two brushes I just showed you. And when you have hooded eyes, small hooded eyes like I do, this is so great for the precision. You can get right in your small, tiny little crease. And it has the tapered end, so it does some of the blending for you, so you don't have to go back in with that M502 or M505 and really blend out. So these three are really good, especially for hooded eyes, and I definitely reach for them every day. So we'll go ahead and move on to pencil brushes. I have the Morphe M431 and I have the MAC, oh man, it's worn out so bad, 210 I think it's called. It's just the two pencil brushes, and I'm including them both because I think they are exactly the same. I have no preference when it comes to these two. I honestly just grab whichever one I see first. They're both tapered, they both come to a nice point, and they both do a great job just blending out anything under the eye. So not much that needs to be said for these, but these are really important to have in your kit, I think, to blend out anything you put down here. You won't regret this. And it's also nice to be able to work some details in the outer corner as well. So pencil brushes are very important. I would definitely not have a kit without them. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go into my flat shader brushes. This is the MAC. I can't even tell what this says, honestly. It's the flat eyeshadow brush, looks like this. There's a million dupes for these. This is just the one I tend to grab most. I've had it for years, and it's just to pack on color on your eyelid. Not much needs to be said for this, but this is definitely my favorite. It has held up the best over the years from all of the flat shader brushes I've had. I think I've had this for like 6 years or so, so that's definitely a favorite. And on that same note, I have this Face Secrets Shadow Blender brush, which looks a lot like it. It's just a little bit bigger, and this is from Sally's, again, probably around 8 years old. I don't even know if they still have these, but this is also great to pack on the lid. This is a little bit bigger and a little bit more dense, so I like this sometimes versus the MAC one I just showed you. And I really like this to get up on here for the brow bone highlight. I think this does a really good job. It kind of blends out as you go, and it just applies a lot of color at once, which I like when I'm in a rush. And I think that is it for my face brushes. Yes, it is. The other two products I wanted to talk about are my lash curler. Sorry, this is dirty. I just used it, but I just have a MAC lash curler. I've had a million of these over the years. I really like these. I think they do a great job. They hold up nicely. I really like that it's black as well. I haven't tried that Shu Uemura one yet, but I don't know. I don't really have a crazy like obsession with lash curlers. I think you can make anything work, honestly. I think that MAC one is great. And finally, I have my Makeup Forever lash applicator, which I just picked up, and I'm loving this. It makes applying your lashes so much easier versus a regular tweezers. It just allows you to really grab onto the lash and push it into your lash line, and then it's really nice to be able to grab your lashes and kind of squeeze them into your natural lashes into your false lashes. So I'm loving this. And now that's it. That is the last of my brushes. So yeah, I know I do have a lot here because I do love makeup, but you can definitely cut these down into a couple favorites. Like I definitely don't take all of these brushes when I'm traveling. So if I had to cut these down into like a couple favorites, if I was like going on vacation, I would probably grab, now I'm gonna go because I have all of my favorites in front of me. I'm gonna like grab everything I possibly can. I would say my must-haves are these guys. I'll quickly run through these again. I have my Real Techniques All Over Powder Brush, my MAC Blush Brush, my Real Techniques All Over Bronzer Brush, my highlighting brush, And then for the eyes, I would grab, of course, just a flat eyeshadow brush like this. I would grab a couple of blending brushes, which is my Morphe M413 and my Morphe M505. And then, of course, my eyebrow brushes, because there is nothing else I apply my eyebrows with unless I grab a stick, which sometimes I do. But if I had to grab brushes, those would be the ones I grabbed. And then, of course, my pencil brush for under the eye and my MAC flat liner brush to really define my lash line. So that is it. I hope that wasn't too long or too much, but I love watching these videos. I like getting inspired to see what people use, what their best ofs are, what they go to, what they gravitate to, and this is what I gravitate to. So I hope this was helpful to some of you. If you have any questions at all, please let me know below. If I am missing any amazing brushes, I would love to hear from you guys. I know I don't have every brush in the world. I definitely have a lot more than this. Not a crazy amount. This is honestly it when it comes to my brushes, besides the ones I just showed you guys. So it's not like I have, you know, brushes and brushes and brushes for days. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. It means the world to me, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all very soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the face brushes. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the Real Technique. Get it out of your mouth.